Alright, a lot of people on the internet do these, you know, cheapest turbo cars videos and everything, and it's always like Eagle Talons and Volvos and shit like that. I've built the most unorthodox turbo cars that you can possibly build, okay? And I'm going to give you my top 10 unorthodox, very cheap, to get decent performance turbo cars that you can buy. Now, some of these will be powered by the same engine. That doesn't mean anything because they're a totally different car. So, you know, there's subtle differences, body differences, a lot of things that change between them. The only thing that's the same is the long block, basically. So, number 1, or I should say number 10, would be the Isuzu Piazza Turbo. It has a really funky fuel injection system, and it has head gasket issues and stuff. But once you sort all that out and convert it to multi-point, I can't remember the company, but they make a multi-point intake manifold. They actually are pretty stout bottom ends. I made like 260 horsepower on mine on an 18G turbo, like, I don't know, 13 pounds or something like that. I don't remember how much boost, but it was a little performer, and it was a super sleeper because it was butt-ass ugly. It looked like some kind of freaky Korean remake of a DeLorean, you know, so it was just a nasty-looking car. But that was number 10. Number 9 would be the Dodge Daytona Turbo, preferably between 1990 and 1992. The 89s were alright as well. But those had 3 different engine options, the T1, T2, and T3. The T1 was a 2.5 liter Garrett turboed, single overhead cam 8-valve 4-cylinder, made 130 horsepower, I think, and 160 foot-pounds or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the second one would be the T2, which was the 2.2 liter single overhead cam, I believe 8-valve as well. And that was to 145 horsepower, I believe, 170 foot-pounds. And then you had the T3, which was the McLaren head DOHC, one found in the IROC Daytona RT, and it was rated at 224 horsepower and 218 foot-pounds, I think, of torque. And it was DOHC 16-valve, which was a really good engine. I had one of those. I had an IROC RT Daytona and a Spirit RT. The Spirit was a piece of shit, and I ended up getting rid of it because I had too many problems for me to really invest. The Daytona I regret getting rid of. So that would be number 9. Then number 8 would be the Eagle Talon. Anybody knows DSM problems knows that it's a good car. They're really cheap to modify, but plan on it being on jack stands, okay? 4G63, great platform if done right. It decimate all, but it's hard to get there and costs a lot more money than most people want to spend. So number 7 would be the Ford Probe GT, which is sitting right here blown the fuck up again. But it's an awesome car. It's really an awesome car. And it's got a lot of potential. It really does. Mine made right around probably 300 wheel horsepower, untuned, on a T04B at 15 pounds, and it destroyed and pushed in a lot of buttholes and really pissed some people off. But it's hated by everyone, and it's a love-hate relationship with this car. It definitely is a lot more finicky in some areas, but very stout if done right. And that brings me to number 6, which would be the Mazda 626 GT, which I have sitting there with the blown transmission. Gotta love that shit. Because it's more family-oriented car, a lot more of a sleeper, 4-door hatchback, doesn't have turbo on the side like the Probe does, doesn't have a bunch of fancy stuff to indicate that it's really anything, just a little GT badge on the fender, and you don't realize that it's got the Mazda F2T engine just like the Probe, and it's also factory turbocharged and intercooled, and makes 145 wheel horsepower, 190 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels. So a really decent performer. It'll run mid-15s in the quarter-mile stock, and with, you know, $70 in mods, it'll run high 13s if you know how to drive. Which brings me to number 6. Shit. Correct me if I get off on these numbers, which would be the Mazda MX6 GT, which is same engine, F2T as the Probe in 66, but it's a really sleek looking, beautiful 80s turbo car and an early 90s turbo car. It was a real beauty. I wish I could show you pictures of all of them, but I don't have the editing software. I'm doing this on my phone. That's my limitation, phone and a GoPro right now, so bear with me. Number 5 would be the Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, because the 2.3 Lima 8-valve turbo 4-cylinder in that is rated at 190 horsepower and 240 foot-pounds in the 88 model, which is what I had. And with maybe $1,000 in modifications, I hit, well, not including the clutch, so $1,300 in modifications, I hit 367 wheel horsepower, or excuse me, 347 wheel horsepower and 366 foot-pounds at 20 psi on a Hull set HX35. So really good performer. Now again, same engine, different car. Number 4, 5, I don't know, 4. We'll just say 4. The Merkur XR4TI. One of the coolest looking cars. If you do the Cosworth Sierra conversion, one of the coolest looking cars you will ever see in your life. Real beauty. Love that car. Really shitty transmission compared to the Thunderbird and the SPL Mustang and all that, but that can be alleviated with a T5 swap really easily, and it gets hard to get much sexier of a rear-wheel drive 80s turbo car with some Cosworth parts on it. I'm sorry, but I love that car. Number 3 would be the SPL Mustang, 205 horsepower and 240 foot-pounds, I believe, still, with a Garrett T3 60 trim stock, intercooled. Real good performer. That was basically the predecessor to the EcoBoost and a real butt herter. I love the SPL Mustang. Number 2, I think is what we're on now, would be the, where was I getting at here? Oh, the Toyota Celica All-Track. I'm sorry. Would be the Toyota Celica All-Track. And that is a god masterpiece. A ST205 or a ST185 Celica with a ST205 swap and that beautiful 3S GTE. Oh my god, awesome. It's Halloween. A kid was just asking if I had candy, but we're out. So that was what that was about just a second ago. And that brings me to number 1. Okay, and this is the god-like gift to mankind, and that would be the 88 to 92 Mark III Toyota Super Turbo. It is hard to beat a 7M GTE powered gorgeous Supra, okay, with a big turbo, an R154 swap, a TRD 1.5-way limited slip differential, and fucking tuned on the hull set. 588 wheel horsepower was the most I ever got out of mine before I crashed it, which pretty much put me in the shithole that I'm in right now, pardon my French. But it's an incredible platform. Most people take for granted the 7M GTE because of head gasket problems and all of that, but it's easily fixed and you can make them bulletproof and they will make power like almost nothing else out there. So that brings to a close my list of the top 10 cars that I think are the best for tuning for cheap. And I might have done 11 or 12 cars, but shit happens. I'm riding a sugar high. Bear with me. Have a good night.